Odran the Half-Ork presents Once Upon a Time in the Underworld by Carrie Fenton. Story 2 of 12. The first lesson one should learn before they enter the Zotzran, or Underworld, is that everything can and will try to kill you. The subterranean world holds some of the most fascinating wonders this planet has to offer, but it also holds some of the greatest terrors imaginable. Be on the lookout, be ever vigilant, and do not let your guard down in these treacherous caverns. One wrong move could be your last. Follow the steps in this guidebook, and you will be prepared for a long and happy life among the subterranean peoples of the Zotzran. Survivor's Guide to the Underworld by Caliban of Taggerley. The dwarf saw the cloaked man walking toward the swinging doors to his tavern from behind the bar as he happened to glance out the window. The witch Wendil was only just starting to glow, and cast a dim bluish-green light upon the vast underground city of Aramkatai. It was still early in the day, or so the dim light portended, and the dwarf was not expecting polite company this day. Yet the cloaked man did not look like the usual harassers he expected. The man cast a looming shadow into the empty tavern as he stood in the threshold of the swinging doors, surveying the establishment before taking slow and deliberate steps inside. Their boots hit the wooden planks, and the metronomic clunk made the dwarf's heartbeat rise in fugue. Was this man sent here by the Firebloods? Was he a new enforcer whose cruelty he knew not of? Or was this some new devil, come to bring more torment to a town already suffering? The man in the cloak took a seat at the bar stool directly in front of the dwarf, and if he did not notice the stunned fear of the proprietor, he did not show it through the shadows of his hood obscuring his face. It took only a moment for the soft growl of the man's voice to leer through the hood.
"What do you got?"
The barkeep stumbled over his memory, thinking of the brews he had on tap and the spirits on the shelf. He did not know if this man was just a simple patron or a more sinister predator. The dwarf stumbled. We got lots of vintages. What are you in the mood for this time of day?"
"Something hard,"
came the hoarse whisper from beneath the faded black hood.
"Something that'll burn on its way down."
"I got some fine spirits here on the shelf for you." The dwarf was beginning to collect his composure, yet kept both eyes on his newcomer in case any surprises came from him. "If I were to recommend one to you, I'd say the dwarven whiskey'd be your best bet. Brewed by my own company, that is."
"Make it a double."
The man made no motion to remove his hood. The dwarf pulled a bottle of Harad Company whiskey from the second to topmost shelf and poured 2 fingers of its contents into a clean glass cup. The proof was high enough that both could practically see steam coming from the liquid as it poured. In one quick gulp the whiskey was gone, swallowed in a flash by the man obscured by a hood. In the second it took the drifter to gulp the whiskey, the dwarf thought he saw tusks from the bottom lip of the man's mouth.
"Another."
The man croaked as he placed the glass gingerly on the bar. The dwarf started to pour, and ended up spilling several drops of the bottle's contents on the bar block when the swinging doors were thrown open. The pronouncement did not make the hooded man so much as twitch as he continued to watch the glass. Footsteps as ominous as the drifters started thumping behind the man, but the dwarf did not see him so much as move his head. The tavern was joined by a new patron now. This man did not hide his appearance behind a cloak and hood, but instead was as ostentatious as one could be. His ruby-red skin and glittering golden jewels of all kinds seemed to glow in contrast with the dim bluish-green light of the early witch Wendil, and his shenty garment was of the finest silks one could buy. His sandals tied around his calves with golden thread, and his mantle hung down to his forearms over his muscular frame, which sported golden gorgerine draped across his collarbone. His most defining feature, however, were the horns set upon either side of his forehead, just above his temples and spiraling downward along the sides of his head like that of a ram. "Harbium!" The hornman spoke in a friendly, inviting tone. "How is business? I see you have a customer already. That is good, though I had hoped to catch you early enough that you would be alone." "Good day, Salaris." The dwarf's voice regained its shakiness. I must have forgot you were coming. Nonsense! Salaris spoke through a smile which showed his pearly white teeth. You've got a business to run, I can respect that. Who is your fine patron this morning? My friend, would you mind removing your hood? Salaris spoke directly to the hooded man who did not so much as move. If Harbium had not spoken to him only a second before, he would swear he was a statue. Buddy! Salaris's tone was still friendly, yet had a taste of warning in it. It is rude not to acknowledge a fireblood when he enters a room. Standing is preferred, but removing hats and hoods is acceptable. Doing neither is a grievous offense. The hooded man still sat at his bar stool, eyes not leaving the glass of whiskey which had been filled, but not handed to him. Hey! Salaris shot the word with a raised voice to establish authority, giving the hooded man's shoulders a push. Do not ignore me when I am talking to you! Harbium could only take a step back, as the hooded man reached for the whiskey glass and drank it in one quick gulp, ignoring Salaris behind him. This time Harbium saw the tusks clearly, and his heart leapt in his chest. The last thing this town needed was a gang war between the Firebloods and whatever orc tribe had decided they wanted to move in. As bad as the Firebloods were, they at least kept Aramkatai free of orcish nomads. As Harbium watched Salaris draw the dwarven pistol from the belt at his shanty, he flinched and began breathing heavily, moving out of the way of any shrapnel which might fly if that pistol went off. What's this about, Harbium? Salaris spoke to the dwarf, yet his eyes were fixed on the back of the hooded man's head. I thought your tavern was for good patrons who respected the authority around here. If you're taking up with folks unapproved by the Firebloods, then I'm afraid that puts your establishment at a greater risk. That means I'm going to have to up this week's security payment. I don't know who this guy is, I swear! Harbium did not know why he did not immediately out this man as an orc. He just walked in a bit before you did, asking for whiskey. I think he's just stopping in for a quick drink and then leaving. Right, mister? The hooded man made no sound or movement as the pistol remained aimed for the back of his head. You served him Harad Company whiskey? Salaris sounded genuinely concerned. Oh, no, Harbium. Don't you remember that the Firebloods have claim to that vintage? You are not allowed to serve it to anyone else, remember? I'm sorry! Harbium sounded like he was about to cry. I didn't know! Do not worry, my dwarf friend. Salaris's calm tone was undercut by a strange mocking. You can make it up to me with a free bottle, after you clean this boy's brains from the bar. As the pistol's flintlock was cocked, the hooded man made quick movements which Harbium could barely decipher through wet eyes. He saw the man move his head from the line of the pistol's fire, in the roaring of the pistol's explosion, releasing the iron pellet from its barrel and shattering wood and glass from the bar shelves. Harbium could only see the man shatter his own whiskey cup on the bar edge. In a swift arc, the glass was sent jamming into the horned man's extended forearm. There was no moment of calm between the pistol shot and the screams of pain as glass jutted from Salaris's forearm. He yelled a curse toward the hooded man before taking a swing at him with the blunt end of the pistol. Harbium knew the horned folk's tolerance for pain, and knew a simple stabbing of glass would shock but not disarm. The swing was stopped short, however, as the hooded man grabbed Salaris's wrist with his left hand. His right hand emerged from beneath the cloak, gripping a rough-hewn hand axe, which wasted no time in hacking at Salaris's pierced forearm. Hack! Hack! Blood sprayed the tavern floor, covering both Salaris and the hooded man in sanguine red. Hack! Harbium could hear bone shattering under the swings of the axe, wincing in fear at the sight of the gore. Hack! A fountain of red sputtered from the stump which was once the right arm of Salaris. The rest of his arm, still clutching the pistol, was gripped firmly in the hooded man's free hand. The man took heavy steps toward the cursing and shrieking Salaris, who managed to remain on his feet despite losing blood rapidly.
Tell me,
the man growled from under his hood in a broken Imperial common.
Would you show me mercy if our roles were switched?
Salaris stopped his wailing, took a few moments to steady his breathing, and spat at the hooded man in defiance. Thank you for listening to this snippet of Odran the Half-Ork by Archer Rain. To hear the full audiobook or read at your own pace, follow the link in the description to subscribe to my Patreon. I'll see you next week with another snippet from the Odran the Half-Ork series. Until then, have fun. Bye-bye.